Welcome, welcome, welcome. Part of our continuing series where we talk to reporters, writers, academics, professors, anybody on the left, anybody on the right. We want to provide those information directly to you, unedited and unaltered. A lot of the professors we try to reach out to are very busy because they're excellent in their field. And so we're not able to get a full interview. We're able to get one or two questions answered, and their time is brief. But we appreciate the responses that we get, and we're trying to reach out to as many people as possible. With us today, we were able to get one question answered from Professor Daniel Kreiss. He's the Distinguished Professor of Political Communication at the UNC Hussman School of Journalism and Media. Kreiss research explores the impact of technological change on the public sphere and political practice. In his 2012 book from Oxford University Press, Taking Our Country Back, Crafting of Network Politics from Howard Dean to Barack Obama, Kreiss presents the untold story of new media and democratic political campaigning over the last decade. Kreiss published a second book in 2016 entitled Prototype Politics, the Making and Unmaking of Technological Innovation in the Republican and Democratic Parties 2000-2014. The book explores the role of digital media, data and analytics in contemporary campaigning, and provides an explanatory framework for understanding the differences in the two parties' technological capabilities. In addition to this work on institutional electoral processes and political campaign and party organizations, Kreiss has published a number of articles and chapters that analyze the effects of changing media environments on the organization and practice of journalism. This includes a series of works that argue for the value of journalistic autonomy and detail regulatory, institutional, and technological means to secure it. And this was the study that I found of a review and provocation on polarization and platforms. The abstract said, scholars increasingly point to polarization as a central threat to democracy and identify technology platforms as a key contributor to polarization. In contrast, we argue that polarization can only be seen as a central threat to democracy if inequality is ignored. The central theoretical claim of this piece is that political identities map more or less onto social groups, and groups are, in turn, located in social structures. As such, scholars must analyze groups as they are embedded in relation of power to meaningfully evaluate the democratic consequences of polarization. Groups struggling for equality, such as the Black Lives Matter movement, often cause polarization because they threaten the extent, power, and status of dominant groups. To develop a shared theoretical lens around polarization and its relationship with inequality, we take up the case of research on the role of platforms of polarization, showing how scholarship routinely lacks analysis of inequality. He's not alone. Other people have said that. We covered recently a book by Professor Danielle Allen out of Harvard, where she was talking about the lack of equality helps cause democratic problems. Here's another study by another professor saying, when you look at polarization, it's not the problem itself. Polarization is what we call people who are unequal fighting for inequality. For example, African-American men have been shot down by the police in weird circumstances for over a century. It was not a major talking point on the left or the right. After Barack Obama finishes his second term as president, the first African-American president, he stepped down. He's not there anymore. Then you have BLM, Black Lives Matter, starts to grow. Originally started by Patrisse Cullors and Alicia Garza, both of which who were from California, NorCal, SoCal. Actually, BLM started here just like the Black Panthers. Anyways, the BLM movement got a lot of traction, Colin Kaepernick, etc. In response, you started seeing a lot of conservatives talk about Blue Lives Matter and Trump talking about how liberals were against the police. So you have an issue of African-American people are not treated as fairly by the police as Caucasians at a national scale, and they want that fixed. So they have a movement to bring attention to that and fix that. In response, that agitates conservatives politically. And so now you have polarization. Some people are for Blue Lives Matter. Some people are for Black Lives Matter. Well, how did you get to that? Because people just wanted to argue, or because Black people were held down? And now when they're finally trying to get equality, it upsets the system because it rebalances the norms. A couple of people have pointed that, and seems to be a strong argument. So here's my one question. I want to say, he said the series looks great. All the best with the series. It looks great. That was the professor's comments. I didn't pay him to say that. He said that on his own. Series looks great. The question was, do you see any reason to think that political polarization will calm down naturally? Which you said, not as long as politicians see it in their interest to divide people for their gain. So that's a quick answer, but it's also very relevant. Will political polarization ever be healed? Not as long as politicians have something to gain by being divisive. We've talked about this before. So with many interviews. So a politician knows that they say something extreme. That would be picked up by the social media companies because it gets people to look at what that person said, the article. So social media companies know that they have more media, that gets more clicks if they show politicians saying extreme things. That gets the social media companies money. News companies also know if they show politicians saying extreme things, they get more eyeballs on the TV screen, which means more advertising revenue. And politicians know that if they say extreme things, they get more coverage by the news and social media, which leads to more donations. So everybody wins, social media, news, and politicians, by promoting extreme things politicians say. They all get financially rewarded for it. So if we could get rid of the system where it's not in politicians' interest to say extreme things, so they don't get additional news coverage, they don't get social media coverage, more people aren't talking about them, it doesn't turn into more donations, then yes, we could see polarization drop. But as long as the incentive for politicians is to say extreme things in order to get attention, and the people who promote that and show that also get financially rewarded, polarization will never get better. That's what the professor says. Hello, I am 4am, my friend. How are you doing, sir? Thanks for checking us out. Always appreciate the comments and the love of the series. I am 4am has been a good friend of the series, watching it from the very beginning. Love to see everybody watching it and sharing the videos and learning and also questioning. You can question the videos, you can question me, you can question the professors. That's the point. Get discussion going. We'll leave it there. We'll be back in just a minute with another video.